So here you have it. I was thinking about ranking the Radiohead albums once I finished listening to all of them, but I kept on coming back to this matchup. I simply couldn't decide which I loved more, which made me feel the need to turn it over to you guys. I feel like a lot of you probably have a similar experience, so I was extremely curious to see how it ended up. There's no particular reason I'd match up these two albums other than I think that they're the two strongest of all the Radiohead albums I've listened to so far. So anyways, 326 of you responded, and here are the results. First up is Airbag versus 15 Step, which was practically in lockstep. I'm not surprised either, considering this is one of the matchups I personally had a tough time deciding on. As you can see, 55.5% of you thought 15 Step was the better song, and I have to say I agree with you guys, but I was just as close to turning the other way. I watched the polls as they unfolded, and this was one of the ones that did multiple flips. Second is Paranoid Android versus Body Snatchers, which was a predictable blowout. Body Snatchers is fun, but Paranoid Android is a transcendent song, and I think we all knew it wouldn't easily. Again, easy agree from me. It's not exactly fair when you have a song like Paranoid Android, which just has so many levels to it. It's like multiple songs thrown into one. Subterranean Homesick Alien has to be one of the weaker moments of OK Computer. I mean, it's solid, but it doesn't age quite as well on repeat listens as some of the others in my personal opinion. And Nude is just captivating. I'm glad you guys agreed. What's interesting is you guys probably remember my first reactions better than me or just as well as I do. And if you had to ask me back then, I probably would have said that Subterranean Homesick Alien was slightly better than Nude. Just kind of like telling how the replayability plays a factor into the longevity of music. It's really interesting. Now, I have to apologize for doing this to you guys. I know how tough this matchup is. I actually am surprised to see Exit Music fall, though. I know how much you all love Weird Fishes, just by how angry you got at the fact that I thought it was kind of redundant when I first heard it. Even though it's grown on me, I still am surprised that it took out Exit Music. This has to be the first time I disagree out of all the picks, but respectfully so. A 58-42 split is definitely a close battle, and I think it's respectable for two fantastic songs. This has to be one of the cases where the songs aren't too comparable though, they're just so vastly different, but pinning them head to head, you guys chose Weird Fishes. Returning again to my initial reactions to songs, Let Down is a song I didn't know would be listenable after many, many listens, but I definitely was proven wrong, as it's a song that's grown on me over time, and I think it's grown on a lot of you guys as well. It went 63-37 because Let Down is a song that definitely grows on you over time, while I find that all I need is a little bit forgettable long term. Okay, so obviously the pick here is overwhelmingly going to be Karma Police, but personally, I like Faust Art more. I think that's how you say it. Please don't flame me. I'm gonna say it that way. Karma Police is a fantastic song, don't get me wrong, but it really doesn't stand up to some Radiohead for me. I think this might have to do with the pop leanings of the song, and it probably is the biggest disagreement we have on this entire list, but I definitely knew it was coming. Oh geez, Reckoner took the biggest blow out of the entire survey, absolutely decimating Electioneering 88.7% to 12.3%. Just let that sink in. Almost 90% of you picked Reckoner. Holy sh*. Yeah, well, that's because it's the right pick for sure. Electioneering really stood out to me on my first listen, maybe because of the contrast it had to the other songs in OK Computer, but going back to it, it doesn't necessarily fit in the context of the album, and I don't see that as necessarily a problem. But to compare it to Reckoner, that's a tough matchup. Climbing Up the Walls is one of the best on OK Computer, so I wasn't surprised to see it take the cake here. House of Cards is by no means a weak song, but when compared to the pinnacle of dark Radiohead, I don't think it can quite compare. Just the fact that I had to remind myself of what House of Cards sounded like is kind of a bad sign for it when Climbing Up the Walls is just such an iconic song. So this is probably the other question that tore your hearts out, and I'm sorry for doing this to you guys. I'll repay you with the King of Limbs reaction. Soon. In the meantime, I have to say I am so ecstatic to say Jigsaw won this one. It's probably my favorite Radiohead song, and despite being enamored by No Surprises, it just can't match Jigsaw for me. Lucky vs. Videotape was super close at 49-51%, and watching this flip back and forth was so tense, I legitimately sat there watching it flip. Thankfully my pick won in the end, but not before multiple swaps throughout. We all know how divisive my initial Videotape reaction was, and I really enjoy going back to Lucky over and over again, so it wasn't too difficult of a pick for me, but I see why it could be for somebody who really loved Videotape. So I actually ended up removing Fitter Happier from the list because there's 12 songs on OK Computer and 10 on In Rainbows. So we needed an extra song from In Rainbows and to subtract a song from OK Computer. So obviously we ended up removing Fitter Happier and we ended up adding Last Flowers. And it was between Last Flowers and Go Slowly because I absolutely love both of those. But it's pretty tough for a B-side or a disc 2 song to beat a main album song. You pretty much never see it happen, and therefore The Tourist won. This one was actually really tough for me as well. I think I would go with The Tourist with you guys, but I could go either way on a certain day. And that means the winner is OK Computer. Now, of course, this is just a track-by-track comparison. It's not necessarily saying that one album is better than the other. But, you know, so take this with a grain of salt, but I think it was fun. And I guess you guys chose OK Computer as the winner here. Anyways, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Let me know if there's another couple albums you'd like me to do this with. Albums I've heard, probably. I probably would like to do this with a Muse set of albums at some point. And if not, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe you guys will recommend something interesting, and we'll just see where we go from here. I'm just enjoying making some new stuff. So, thanks for watching, and have a fantastic day, everybody. Peace.